Welcome to the Executive Insights podcast, brought to you by AWS, where we address vital questions and share unique perspectives from leaders at the intersection of business and technology.
Welcome to the Executive Insights podcast, brought to you by AWS. My name is Arvind Mathur, and I'm an executive in residence at AWS. I have been with AWS for about 2 years, but before that, I've spent about 24 years in the consumer goods industry with companies like Kellogg's and Procter & Gamble. It is my pleasure to introduce Anupam. He is the CEO of Vxceed and has a long experience working and leading the business at Vxceed. So, Anupam, for listeners who may not know about Vxceed, can you give us a quick background about what your business does?
Hi, Arvind. First of all, thank you very much for having me on board this podcast. Happy to be here. A quick background to Vxceed. We have been in the business of providing distribution solution for CPG companies in all the emerging markets, which covers the entire distribution capability, whether it's a demand generation to fulfillment to channel partner management, and have been able to go across many markets, many categories over the last few years.
That's terrific, Anupam. We've got quite a bit of experience in this space. And it's amazing, just over the last couple of decades, I have seen how the industry is experiencing unprecedented change. From your vantage point, what changes do you see in the trade space?
From where we are, I think we are essentially noticing three mega trends. One is on consumer trend, very rapidly changing preferences, demand for personalization, very niche products, flavors, brands, and increasingly very high degree of experimentation that goes with it, given the ability of trying out products over various commerce platforms. The second is channel complexity. Emergence of quick commerce, D2C, omni-channel channels are blending and merging in unexpected ways. Quick commerce behaves like modern trade, for example, for CPG procurement, but is still like a GT for in-market dynamics. Having said that, traditional trade still represents 95% of volume in most emerging markets. The third is the competitive pressure. With the ability of marketplace and quick commerce platforms, new entrants' ability to launch, get consumers to try, get consumers to adopt has increased significantly. Many companies start with D2C channel or new channels and then expand traditional trade very rapidly because they have already got a decent consumer base, and we've seen that, and typically a very high level of adoption in beauty care or personal care products and sometimes even in food products. This results in incumbents feeling the heat of new launched products at unprecedented pace compared to what they have seen earlier.
I can tell you, I've seen this firsthand in the last few years in categories that we felt we had very strong existing businesses. With all this disruption going on, Anupam, from your vantage point, what do you see should incumbent CPG companies do?
So, Arvind, while we have seen significant noise around new channels, traditional channel still remains the volume driver. For incumbents, execution excellence in GT becomes the most relevant competitive mode to protect their market share, to protect their share of shelf, and drive that growth and sales. As we all know, out of stock is equal to permanent lost sales, and which also gives the opportunity for new brands to gain foothold in the shelf. And once you gain foothold in the shelf, you are able to generate sales and repeat purchases. The stakes are pretty high. I mean, according to a lot of studies being done, the out-of-stock scenarios in consumer goods ranges between 5 to 10% and resulting in loss of approximately 4 to 5% of total revenue. And hence, the need to protect the general trade presence, the market execution, the in-field execution becomes as relevant as ever.
And I've seen that in my last company. We would see insurgent brands come in, and the moment there was an opportunity on shelf, we'd start losing share there. But the interesting thing is that, 25, 30 years ago, when I started in the industry, we were at that time implementing Salesforce automation systems because we knew this was a challenge and execution improvement in general trade was the key. And it was 25 years since then. How come this is still an issue today? What are the elements of this that have still not been solved? And how can CPG companies continue to strengthen their foundations here?
Yeah, Arun, you are absolutely right. I mean, the SFA tools existed for many years, but essentially what we have seen is there are few key challenges that have persisted. One is the execution reality gap. While SFA tools existed, as you mentioned, the actual behavior didn't change that much as the company desired. So, for example, we have seen in companies that we work with in multiple geographies, we still find that 70 to 80% of visits are completed. I'm talking about retail visits completed in sub 2 minutes. And that's kind of impossible because for a salesperson to enter an outlet, do the activities of placement, do the activities of selling, and then also capture an order in sub 2 minutes is not possible. And when you correlate this data with corresponding data of saying how much is a geocode compliance of a visit done by a salesperson, you'll realize that hardly 10 to 15% is actually complying in many companies, which essentially means that salespersons are not really making the sales call or entering the order at the time of a visit, but they are capturing the data either on some paper or just memorizing what they need and going back and sitting under a tree, bunching the orders together and entering 10 to 15 orders in one go. That is one problem of execution gap. The other is the data lag problem. We all know data was getting captured, the way the sales have been done, the orders captured, but these data captured was never reaching the key stakeholders or key decision makers in an organization, the sales team essentially on time. There was a big significant lag. It was getting rolled up through BI systems, published in static reports. There needs to publish the daily visit report on email transmission, but those things don't really work because nobody really reads daily email reports. Maybe they do it in first week or second week, but they give up. And the third point is the scale and complexity challenge. There are companies who have 8,000, 10,000, 20,000 salespeople in the market covering 1 million or 2 million plus outlets every day. There is degree of separation between the brand retailer is 2+ level, as we know in the CPG and general trade markets here. Retailers are very heterogeneous. They don't just differ in terms of assortment. They differ on stocking capability, maturity, payment ability. It is not just the volume of outlets, but the heterogeneity of the retail landscape. And then there are multiple parties involved. There are distributors, there are sub-distributors, there are wholesalers, there's stockists, till the time it reaches to the retailers. And the competitive landscape has completely changed. In the past, new entrants couldn't easily penetrate traditional trade, high barriers to entry. Today, they start with digital platform, gain traction, gain adoption after awareness, and then move into GT market to penetrate the traditional trade. If the incumbents have weak execution, stockouts, poor shelf presence, they're literally handing over shelf space and customer loyalty to these insurgents. Every out of stock moment is a trial opportunity for a competitor's product.
We hope you're enjoying this discussion. To join the conversation and engage with other business leaders on these topics, follow AWS Executive Insights on LinkedIn.
And I've seen this in my own business, how quickly new entrants are able to take those opportunities if they find space on the shelf. So tell me, what has changed? What is possible now that wasn't possible earlier to address these issues?
One of the key things that has changed completely of late is, and recent past, is the availability of technology and tools. And we have been working together with AWS as well on that. The entire essence of getting more real-time data from the market, from in-field execution, from a salesperson device, the ability of AI ML to process the signals at large scale. The technology of mobile app being available has been there, but obviously the ability to capture more data, the activities on the mobile has become far, far better as it was even before. Complement that with AI as well as Gen AI that make data consumable and actionable, as well as the speed at which the data that is captured in the market, whether it's the presence in the retail store, whether it's the method of selling in the store, gets immediately processed and insights or inferences can be pushed very immediately to the sales team to make the right decisions at the right time. That is the key things which has changed and gives immense ability for the sales team to exploit this technology that's currently available now.
I tell you, every week these days, as I meet with consumer goods companies, customers, this is the question they're asking, which is what's possible now with AI, whether it's predictive, generative, or agentic, especially now. How can this lead to a step change in their businesses are? So give us some concrete examples where these new capabilities are being used to solve these long-standing problems.
And I think there are many, Arvind, and I think I'll pick up a few of them. Let's take demand forecasting. I mean, we are able to look at past demand, seasonality, weather, economic data, world category demand, make much better predictions. We are able to do more granular secondary demand outlet by day prediction now that helps to plan and shape demand using pricing promotions, product replacements, or new product introductions. This helps with inventory planning, getting the right inventory, right store, and work back to the DT to ensure that distributor or sub-distributor also has the right stock. Another example of using predictive AI is stockout prevention or outlet risk segmentation. What we have seen is that if we analyze the outlet buying behavior, looking at past sales, no sale visit patterns, why there are no visits, no sale happening in consecutive visits or payment history, we are able to identify much more accurately what outlets are at risk or likely to churn and what reasons. Could be credit, could be competition activity, segment outlet by behavior and opportunity, and help prioritize sales manager interventions. Second is generative AI, and this is where we have seen significant transformation. So example is right now we are able to convert complex data into human readable summaries like a news bulletin. AI generate video news formats with human voice and face, multiple themed bulletins. So we are also able to give like a short capsule, then longer capsule at different time intervals in the day so that we get the right attention of the sales team and sales managers. Again, it is not a broad brush news bulletin, but very much targeted for the person to consume, segmented by territory of that person. Each manager sees the only relevant data, makes it easy to consume in insights of 2 to 3 minutes versus reading dashboards or reading data dumps. Similarly, insight summarization, it takes field images, visit data, sales pattern, generates natural language insights. So for example, it says, hey, territory North Zone is showing 50% decline in premium SKUs due to competitive promotion in 23 key outlets. Now, when you get such precise data, the ability of any person to react to it and take a quick call or saying what can be done intraday becomes more easy. And lastly is the agentic AI automation with judgment now. If, for example, and that's a very, very good example to take in terms of agentic work that's being done is trade promotion optimization. And this is real-time trade promotion optimization. What we are able to do is we're able to look at promotion performance, lift or inventory, check the inventory availability in real time, adjust promotion periods, whether we can extend it or short close it. We can tweak the promotion targeting, which stores, increase or reallocate promotion budgets, and all this happening automatically without human intervention. So if you think through that, there is a signal of saying, hey, there is a promotion lift or like utilization happening and what is the impact on the inventory. Quickly turns it around saying what needs to be done with the promotion. Should I short close? Should I extend? Should I change the targeting? Should I change the mix of promotion, giveaway conditions? And all this is automatically done with the agentic flow that we are able to create now.
That's so interesting you say this, Anupam, because I've tried to solve the trade spend optimization problem many times in my life. And this challenge of there's so much judgment involved and so much work to be done by humans and just not enough capacity and responsiveness to do that. If you can unlock that, that's a massive potential. But tell me a bit more about what judgment we can automate combines with continuing to leverage humans in the field. How is that interplay coming along as you see it?
So you're right, Arvind. There is definitely a need to always have a human in loop. However, there are certain routine judgment points or calls which create bottlenecks, which order to prioritize what substitution can be made. For example, many times you see a scenario where a specific pack size is not available for a brand or a flavor. However, there is another flavor which is very closely related and can be substituted. But this doesn't require necessarily human intervention because inventory is available, the price range is the same, it's a similar kind of flavor, but different combination of brand pack. And that can be automated. That substitution can be automated. This frees up the time of the team to focus on a little more strategic and more sales planning and sales execution activity rather than substituting one flavor by another flavor in the market.
That's terrific. It's really awesome to see that you're starting to put this into market now. Can you share some specific examples of results you're seeing from customers who implemented these capabilities?
Well, there are many, Arvind, but I'll just quote a few. One of the places we really made a big impact for one of the CPG companies is we are able to help not just expand the coverage, but expand the coverage of outlet with clean data, because that has been the biggest challenge of CPG companies in terms of what is the outlet data that I have. Is it clean? Is it well documented? Is it understood? Is it categorized correctly? So we were able to help one of the companies to go from roughly 1.6 million outlets to plus million outlets in around 18 months. That was a significant, because once you expand the coverage, the ability of driving sales anyway increases. Just by having a routine visit, sales will happen. That's one of the example. Other is behavioral change. We all know that when you measure something, there is an ability to drive behavioral change as well. So when a sales team start measuring, for example, how much time my sales team is spending in the market every day, what is the average time spent in an outlet, what are the steps taken in a sales cycle inside an outlet, If I just know as a salesperson, this is made visible and this is measurable, my behavior will become more compliant, and that drives significant advantage in the retail field execution, because end of the day, we are still trying to ensure that the in-market execution is as perfect as possible to drive perfect stores, perfect placement, and hence no out of stock situation. Third is the business impact. We have seen typical customers see our sales uplift of 5 to 10% with the kind of tool set that's available now in terms of in-market execution, field execution, driving absolute compliant behavior. And we've also seen 15-25% promotion ROI improvement. Lastly is the speed to action. Issues identified and addressed intraday versus weeks later. That makes a significant difference in terms of retailer relationship as well, right? So even if a retailer raises an issue about certain lost promotion that they did not get, or inventory is not given on time, or some issue with the asset given by the brand, that resolution speed makes a lot of difference in maintaining a good retailer relationship and driving a better presence in shelf. The real unlock is the shift from what happened last month to what's happening right now within a day, and what should we do about it. And who are the people who are supposed to take action? Are they getting the right signals at the right time? That's the difference between protecting the base and losing ground to competitors.
So, Anupam, let me synthesize then. What I'm hearing, and I've seen this firsthand, is that CPG companies are facing disruptions from multiple sources. There's consumer preferences changing, there are channel complexity increasing, there are new entrants in the market, but winning in general trade is still incredibly important area. And there is an opportunity, based on what you're sharing, leveraging new capabilities around AI, generative AI, and agentic AI to strengthen the defensive possession that CPG companies can make in this really important channel, which will help them continue to win in the future. And the cool part I really noted from what you were saying, and I see this from an AWS perspective as well, not just in CPG and in trade, but in a number of other places, how AI capabilities are now allowing decision-making to be a lot more real-time, a lot more present and actionable. I love what you said about behavior impact and speed to action. And that sounds like our new opportunities that need to be tapped now.
Yeah, Arvind, absolutely right. And my submission to CPG executives listening would be, I would like to challenge you to ask, where does your organization stand on real-time market responsiveness? Are you finding out about stockouts, execution gaps, and competitive threats after you already lost sales? Or are you equipped to sense and respond immediately? The opportunity is significant. We discussed that earlier, that we're talking about 5 to 10% sales uplift, double-digit improvements in promotion ROI. Even a small pilot in one region can unlock substantial value and learning. For those who want to dive deeper, we have published thought leadership on this topic. And of course, we are happy to discuss how lighthouse signals might fit your strategic market challenges.
Anupam, thank you for sharing these insights. For our listeners, this has been Executive Insights, where we explore how technology is transforming business operations. If you're interested in learning more about Vxceed solutions or connecting with Anupam, check out the show notes. Until next time, thank you, Anupam.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you very much for having me on board.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Executive Insights, brought to you by AWS. If you enjoyed this episode, help us spread the word by rating and reviewing. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.